Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnupad Panamansa Paripad Jakacharya Ashto Tirasata Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Nam Acharya Sridhar Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Gangamai Ki Jai Jamunamai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Welcome everybody to Srimad Bhagavatam reading with His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami. It is Monday, December 22nd, 2025. We are beginning with 4:24:61. We had just read the first part of that text, but we were waiting for today to read the whole thing. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Guru Maharaj, do you want to begin?
Yo Maya Yedam Pururupa Yasrijad Piparti Bhuya Shapayatya Vikriya Yad Peda Buddhi Sadivat Madhustaya Twamatma Tantram Bhagavan Patimahi. My dear Lord, you have manifold energies, and these energies are manifested in manifold forms. With such energies, you have also created this cosmic manifestation. and although you maintain it as if it were permanent, you ultimately annihilate it. Although you are never disturbed by such changes and alterations, the living entities are disturbed by them, and therefore they find the cosmic manifestation to be different or separated from you. My Lord, you are always independent, and I can clearly see this fact. Maybe someone would like to read the purport and then I can comment.
Yes. Purport 261. It is clearly explained that Lord Krishna has multi-energies, which can be grouped into three, namely the external energy, the internal energy, and the marginal energy. There are also different cosmic manifestations, namely the spiritual world and the material world, as well as different types of living entities. Some living entities are conditioned, and others are eternally free. The eternally free living entities are called Nitya Mukta, for they never come in contact with the material energy. However, some living entities are conditioned in this material world, and thus they think themselves separated from the Supreme Lord. Due to their contact with the material energy, their existence is always troublesome, being always in distress. The conditioned soul considers the material energy to be very much disturbing. This fact is explained by a Vaishnava Kavi, or poet. Krishna Buli se jiva anadi bahirmukha ateva maya tare deya samsara dukkha. When the living entity forgets the Supreme Lord and wants to enjoy himself independently, imitating the Supreme Lord, he is captured by the false notion that he is the enjoyer and is separated from the Supreme Lord. This material energy is therefore very much troublesome to the spiritual energy, the living entity, but the material energy is never troublesome to the Supreme Lord. Indeed, for the Supreme Lord, both material and spiritual energy are the same. In this verse, Lord Shiva explains that the material energy is never troublesome to the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is always independent, but because the living entities are not independent due to their false idea of becoming independently happy, the material energy is troublesome. Consequently, the material energy creates differentiation.
We could stop there for the moment. Pause. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadhati Shapadantikam Pande Hang Shri Guru Shri Jatapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Shahagana Raghunathan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Shahagana Lolita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye. Vanchakolpatarubhyascha kripa sindhopyeva cha. Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Here, Beta Buddhi is an important term. The intelligence by which one sees in things separated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the key ingredient of Maya, to forget Krishna, and then think that I'm separate, that the material energy is separate or independent, that everything exists on its own, and not to see the connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or not to see that actually this is all nothing but a manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Idam hi Vishvam Bhagavani Vetara in Bhagavatam. Whatever we see is actually nothing but Krishna. In manifold forms, Pururupa, and Prabhupada explains material energy, marginal energy, spiritual energy, and then there are so many things in each category. And then, yes, so many things in each category. But Bhayadvitiya Binibeshata Syad. We forget Krishna and become fearful, because as soon as we forget Krishna, then material energy is very powerful and fearsome. So when we forget Krishna, everything becomes troublesome. But when we remember Krishna, then everything is all right. Prabhupada also makes the point that although this material energy is troublesome for us, it's never troublesome for Krishna. He's transcendental to all troubles. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Okay, continuing with the purport. Because the Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand this, they want to be relieved from the material energy. However, because a Vaishnava philosopher is in full knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he finds no disturbance even in the material energy. This is because he knows how to utilize the material energy for the service of the Lord. In the government, the criminal department and civil department may appear different in the eyes of the citizens, but in the eyes of the government, both departments are one and the same. The criminal department is troublesome for the criminal, but not for the obedient citizen. Similarly, this material energy is troublesome for the conditioned soul, but it has nothing to do with the liberated souls who are engaged in the service of the Lord. Through the Purusha Avatar, Mahavishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, created the whole cosmic manifestation. Simply by breathing out all the universes, the Lord creates and maintains the cosmic manifestation as Lord Vishnu. Then, as Sankarshan, he annihilates the cosmic manifestation. Yet, despite the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the cosmos, the Lord is not affected. The various activities of the Lord must be very disturbing to the tiny living entities, But since the Lord is supremely great, he is never affected. Lord Shiva or any other pure devotee can see this clearly without being blinded by Veda buddhi or differentiation. For a devotee, the Lord is the supreme spirit soul. Since he is supremely powerful, his various powers are also spiritual. For a devotee, there is nothing material. For material existence only means forgetfulness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yes, I think that's all clear. In the Chaturshloki Bhagavad also, point is made. Yata Pasha Yata Dava. There's nothing but Krishna. Any questions, comments?
I don't see anything in the chat.
Okay.
Do you want to read the next text, Guru Maharaj?
I'll let you read.
Okay. Panchatattva Prabhu, can we pass it to you?
Sure. I liked that earlier in the purport where Prabhupada says, this material energy is therefore very much troublesome to the spiritual energy, the living entity. But the material energy is never troublesome to the Supreme Lord. It's interesting to talk about, to express it in that way. Sometimes you hear troublesome to the soul, troublesome to the conditioned souls, but here we have that expression. The material energy is troublesome to the spiritual energy, the living entities. I like that. Hare Krishna. Kriyakulapar idam eva yogina. Shadandvita sadhu yajanti siddhaye. Bhutendriyanta karanopalakshitam. Videcha tantre chata eva kovidaha. My dear Lord, your universal form consists of all five elements, the senses, mind, intelligence, false ego, which is material, and the Paramatma, your partial expansion, who is the director of everything. Yogis other than the devotees, namely the Karma Yogi and Jnana Yogi, worship you by their respective actions in their respective positions. It is stated both in the Vedas and in the Shastras that are corollaries of the Vedas, and indeed everywhere, that it is only you who are to be worshipped. That is the expert version of all the Vedas. Purport. In a previous verse, Lord Shiva wanted to see the form of the Lord which the devotees are always interested in. There are other forms of the Lord manifest in the material world, including Brahma and other demigods, and these are worshipped by materialistic persons. In the second canto, third chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that those who desire material benefits are recommended to worship different types of demigods. And in conclusion, the Bhagavatam recommends Akama sarva kamava, moksha kama udara dhi, tivrena bhakti yogena, yajeta purusham param. Srimad Bhagavatam 2:3-10. The devotees, the jnanis, who are known as moksha kama, and the karmis, who are known as sarva kama, are all aspiring to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Even when one performs yagyas, as stated here, kriya kalapai, he should always remember that the demigods are but agents of the Supreme Lord. Actually, the worshipful Lord is Vishnu, Yagyeshvara. Thus, even when the different demigods are worshipped in the Vedic and Tantric sacrifices, the actual goal of sacrifice is Lord Vishnu. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita 9:23, it is said, Yepyanya devata bhakta, yajante shraddhayanvitaha, tepi mami vakantya, yajantya vidhi purvakam. Whatever a man may sacrifice to other gods, O son of Kunti, is really meant for me alone, but is offered without true understanding. Thus, the worshippers of various demigods also worship the Supreme Lord, but they do so against the regulative principles. The purpose of the regulative principles is to satisfy Lord Vishnu. In the Vishnu Purana 389, the very same thing is confirmed. Varnashrama charavata purushena parapuman Vishnu aradyate purnta nanyat toshakaranam. Here it is clearly mentioned that the karmi, jnani, or yogi, in fact, everyone, worships Lord Vishnu if he is actually expert in knowledge of the Vedas and Tantras. The word Kovidaha is very significant, for it indicates the devotees of the Lord. Only the devotees know perfectly that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is all-pervading. Within the material energy, he is represented by the 5 material elements, as well as the mind, intelligence, and ego. He is also represented by another energy, the living entities. And all these manifestations in the spiritual and material world combined are but representations of the different energies of the Lord. The conclusion is that the Lord is one, and that he is expanded in everything. This is understood by the Vedic version, Sarvam Kal Vidang Brahma. One who knows this concentrates all his energy in worshiping Lord Vishnu.
Again, the Lord Shiva is expanding on this point that Krishna is everything, and that everything is nothing other than Krishna and Krishna's energy. Oh, he's described different elements, senses, mind, intelligence, and the senses themselves. They're nothing but Krishna. And yes, those who are worshiping Anya Devata, some other god, are actually worshiping Krishna, but indirectly, and in a way that's described as avidhi purvakam, or against the standard way of doing things. Okay.
We have a question from Praveen Prabhu. Oh, before that, I wanted to say that I have a note about using large font. If you can use large font for readability, that would be good. On the computer, there is a setting in Zoom, and on the phone, you can try an app like Notes for large font and copy and paste. I noticed that there's a Zoom update which has actually prohibited that, so I'll try to find a new solution. Praveen Prabhu now writes, why does the living entity, disturbed by the material changes, see the cosmos separate from Lord, from the previous verse 61?
I guess we look at the sequence here. The living entity is disturbed and sees the cosmos as separate from the Lord. The way I read it, Prabhupada was sort of going about it from the opposite direction. Because the living entity sees the cosmos as separate from the Lord, it's disturbing for him. The cosmos creates so many unwanted situations, unwanted association, unwanted this, unwanted that. And so it creates trouble. And it creates trouble for the living entities. When we forget Krishna, then everything's troublesome. When we remember Krishna, we see everything is Krishna's energy. There's no problem. I hope that was a little coherent. Okay.
Praveen Prabhu writes, thank you. Okay. All right, nothing else in the chat. for text 63. Saraswati Masterji, are you available?
Text 63. Tvamika adhaya purusha supta shakti staya raja sattvatamo vipidyate mahanaham kaham marudagni vardhara ha surarsayo bhuta ganaidam yataha. Translation. My dear Lord, excuse me, you are the only Supreme Person, the cause of all causes. Before the creation of this material world, your material energy remains in a dormant condition. When your material energy is agitated, three qualities, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, act, and as a result, the total material energy, egotism, ether, air, fire, water, earth, and all the various demigods and saintly persons become manifest. Thus the material world is created. Purport. If the whole creation is one, that is, nothing but the Supreme Lord, or Vishnu, then why do the expert transcendentalists make such categories as are found in the above verse? Why do learned and expert scholars distinguish between matter and spirit? In answer to these questions, Lord Shiva says that spirit and matter are not creations of various philosophers, but are manifested by Lord Vishnu as described in this verse. Tvameka idaya purushaha. Spiritual and material categories are made possible by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But actually there are no such distinctions for the living entities who are eternally engaged in the service of the Lord. There is only a material world for those who want to imitate the Lord and become enjoyers. Indeed, the material world is nothing but forgetfulness of the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, the creator of everything. The distinction between matter and spirit is created by the sleeping energy of the Lord when the Lord wants to give some facility to those living entities who want to imitate the Lord in his enjoyment. It is only for them that this material world is created by the dormant energy of the Lord. For instance, sometimes children want to imitate their mother and cook in the kitchen, and at such a time the mother supplies them with some toys so that the children can imitate her cooking. Similarly, when some of the living entities want to imitate the activities of the Lord, this material cosmic manifestation is created for them by the Lord. The material creation is therefore caused by the Lord through his material energy. It is by the glance of the Lord that the material energy is activated. At that time, the three material qualities are set into motion, and the material energy is manifested first in the form of the Mahatattva, then egotism, then ether, then air, fire, water, and earth. After the creation, the living entities are impregnated in the cosmic manifestation, and they emerge as Lord Brahma and the 7 great rishis, then as different demigods. From the demigods come human beings, animals, trees, birds, beasts, and everything else. The original cause, however, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as verified here in Tvamika Daya Purushaha. This is also confirmed in the Brahma Samhita 5.1. Ishvara Paramakrishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda, Sarva Karanam Karanam. If we can pause here, pranams Param Pujya Gurudev and all the Vaishnavas. Guru Maharaj, if you would like to make some comments, please.
The Lord awakens the sleeping, his dormant energies. Supta Shakti, I think is the term used. And then the three qualities become agitated. That's described in the 3rd canto, the beginning. The Lord has to activate the material nature, then all these wonderful natural things can go on, whether it's making, yes, I won't elaborate. A little incoherent tonight, I'm feeling, because well, ended a long day. So so others can also fill in. Okay, shall we continue?
Those who are covered by the material energy cannot understand that the origin of everything is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. This is summarized in the Vedanta aphorism Janmadi Yasya Yatha, Vedanta Sutra 1.1.2. Krishna also confirms this in Bhagavad Gita 10.8, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajanti mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know this perfectly engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. When Krishna says that he is the origin of everything, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavaha, he means that he is even the source of Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the Purusha avatars, the material manifestation, and all the living entities within the material world. Actually, the word Prabhava, creation, only refers to this material world. For since the spiritual world is eternally existing, there is no question of creation. In the Chatusloka of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord says, Aham eva sham eva gra. I was existing in the beginning before the creation. Bhagavatam 2.9.33. In the Vedas, it is also said, Eko Narayana Asit. Before the creation, there was only Narayan. This is also confirmed by Shankaracharya. Narayanaha paro vyaktat. Narayan is transcendental to the creation. Gita Bhasya. Since all the activities of Narayan are spiritual, when Narayan said, let there be creation, that creation was all spiritual. The material only exists for those who have forgotten that Narayan is the original cause. Guru Maharaj, some comments?
You're muted, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you. It's clear that the Lord manages everything through his diverse energies, and he's able to do this in his diverse forms. His forms are spiritual, and therefore his creation is also ultimately spiritual. But the spiritual energy acts in different ways. So, on the way up, yes. Again, for us, this is sort of, we know these things, but for those who are not well versed in Krishna consciousness, these are all outstanding alternative. Yes, energies of the Lord. Let me stop here before I pull myself into complicated. Well, not that. Best I stop here. And if there are others who'd like to comment, feel free.
Hey, Guru Maharaj, I was reading about the glories of Navdvip Dham, and I hadn't exactly known about how Lord Shiva and Parvati actually they are involved in the pastimes in Navdvip in one way or another. One of the pastimes was how when Shankaracharya, of course we know that's an incarnation of Lord Shiva, specifically directed by the Lord to propagate the Mayavad philosophy. But when Shankaracharya actually set out to Navdvip, he was told by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared to him in a dream and told him that although he is following the exact orders of the Lord, he cannot preach that in Navdvip Dham, which is this spiritual abode. Actually, it's one part of Goloka Dham itself. So he was told he cannot come to preach there and contaminate the residents of Navdvip Dham. And also at the Rudra Dweep, one of the dweeps there, it said there are 11 Rudras that forever reside there, chanting the glories of Gauranga, dancing in bliss. And I was reading about how in another dweep, Simanta Dweep, which borders Navdvipa, it was once Parvati Mata saw Lord Shiva in ecstasy, dancing and chanting Gauranga. And she asked him, what are you chanting? Who is this Gauranga? And so Lord Shiva explained to her how she acknowledged that her heart was melting by seeing all this. And he told her that how Krishna, in the mood of Radharani, and her complexion is going to come and descend in Kali Yuga to Navdvip Dham. So he explained to her that she's an ansa of Radharani, and of course she has her own duties here in the material world. But after hearing all this, she underwent great austerities, praying to Lord Gaurachandra that she somehow or another was feeling a lot of sorrow that she's got this duty, and but somehow this duty prevents her from participating directly with the internal energy and his pastimes that are, of course, conducted by his internal energy. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's so merciful, he acknowledged that she's doing this great duty, as ugly as it is, to bind conditioned souls to the material world. But she shouldn't feel sorrow that she is somehow cheated from having Krishna prema. But anyway, he said to her that she placed the dust of his lotus feet on her head, and he was so pleased that he said that that this service she's doing is vital, but she will forever be present in two forms here in Navdvip Dham. And so in one way or another, Lord Shiva is the guardian of the Dham, and Parvati can stay in the form as a goddess of Simanta Dweepa, and in another form as Radha Maya in Mayapur. I really enjoyed this pastime. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, we just read 63. Now for 64, Naveen Prabhu, are you available?
Yes, I am available. Text 64. Srishtam sva shaktyedam anupravishtash chatur vidham puram atmam shakena ato vidustam purusham santam antar bhunkte rishikeer madhu sar gamyaha. Translation. My dear Lord, after creating by your own potencies, you enter within the creation in four kinds of forms. Being within the hearts of the living entities, you know them and know how they are enjoying their senses. The so-called happiness of this material creation is exactly like the bee's enjoyment of honey after it has been collected in the honeycomb. Purport. The material cosmic manifestation is an exhibition of the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But because dual matter cannot work independently, the Lord himself enters within this material creation in the form of a partial expansion, Paramatma, and he enters also by his separated parts and parcels, the living entities. In other words, both the living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead enter into the material creation just to make it active. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.5, Aparayam itastvanyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam daryate jagat. Besides this inferior nature, O mighty-armed Arjuna, there is a superior energy of mind, which consists of all living entities who are struggling with the material nature and are sustaining the universe. Since the material world cannot work independently, the living entities enter into the material manifestation in four different types of bodies. The word Chaturvidham is significant in this verse. There are four types of living entities born within this material world. Some are born by way of an embryo, Jarayuja, some by way of eggs, Andaja, some by perspiration, Svetaja, and some, like the trees, by way of seeds, Udvija. Regardless of how these living entities appear, they are all busy in the pursuit of sense enjoyment. It looks like the purport is a bit long, so I guess if there are any comments, or if Maharaj has comments, be so far.
Well, I'll let others comment, I think, if they'd like to.
Let's see. The materialistic scientist's contention that living entities other than human beings have no soul is nullified herein. Whether they are born through an embryo, eggs, perspiration, or seeds, all living entities and the 8,400,000 species of life are parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and each therefore is an individual spiritual spark and soul. The Supreme Personality of Godhead also remains within the heart of the living entity, regardless of whether the living entity is a man, animal, tree, germ, or microbe. The Lord resides in everyone's heart, and because all living entities who come to this material world do so in order to fulfill their desires for sense enjoyment, the Lord directs the living entities to enjoy their senses. Thus, the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, knows everyone's desires. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Sarvasya cham hridi sannivisto matta smrtir jnanam apohanam cha. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Remaining within the hearts of all living entities, the Lord bestows remembrance by which the living entities can enjoy certain things. Thus, the living entities create their enjoyable honeycombs and then enjoy them. The example of the bees is appropriate because when bees try to enjoy their honeycomb, they have to suffer the bites of other bees. Because bees bite one another when they enjoy honey, they are not exclusively enjoying the sweetness of the honey, for there is also suffering. In other words, the living entities are subjected to the pains and pleasures of material enjoyment, whereas the Supreme Personality of Godhead, knowing their plans for sense enjoyment, is aloof from them. In the Upanishads, the example is given of two birds sitting on a tree. One bird, the jiva or living entity, is enjoying the fruits of that tree, and the other bird, Paramatma, is simply witnessing. In the Bhagavad Gita 13:23, the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Paramatma is described as Upadrashta, the overseer, and Anumanta, the permitter. The permitter. Thus, the Lord simply witnesses and gives the living entity sanction for sense enjoyment. It is the Paramatma also who gives the intelligence by which the bees can construct a hive, collect honey from various flowers, store it, and enjoy it. Although the Paramatma is aloof from living entities, he knows their intentions, and he gives them facilities by which they can enjoy or suffer the results of their actions. Human society is exactly like a beehive, for everyone is engaged in collecting honey from various flowers or collecting money from various sources and creating large empires for common enjoyment. However, after these empires are created, the bites of other nations have to be suffered. Sometimes nations declare war upon one another, and the human beehives become sources of misery. Although human beings are creating their beehives in order to enjoy the sweetness of their senses, they are at the same time suffering from the bites of other persons or nations. The Supreme Personality of Godhead as Paramatma is simply witnessing all these activities. The conclusion is that both the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Jivas enter into the material world. However, the Paramatma, or Supreme Personality of Godhead, is worshipable because he has arranged for the happiness of the living entity in the material world. Because it is the material world, however, no one can enjoy any kind of happiness without inebriety. Material enjoyment means inebriety, whereas spiritual enjoyment means pure enjoyment under the protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I don't have comments, but Marge, a few comments.
The Lord is the overseer and permitter, Anudrashta and Anumanta. He arranges for the sense gratification of the living entities, although reluctantly, because it's so much better when the living entities have their well, I won't continue, actually. Again, I'll just let others speak.
We have some comments. Panchtapa Prabhu writes, the other day I saw a video of a white blood cell in hot pursuit of bacteria. It was truly fascinating. This tiny single-celled organism, apparently brainless, etc., was deftly maneuvering to capture its prey and was successful. You're muted, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you. These are Krishna's arrangements.
We have another comment. Pratipurna Madhavi Machi writes, there are a lot of parallels in Lord Shiva's prayers and Prahlad Maharaj's prayer. Unable to copy with larger font today.
Yes, it's notable. Of course, the same truths are being repeated again and again in different ways for our realization and remembrance. Hare Krishna.
We have a comment from Praveen Prabhu. There's a text here. Guru Maharaj, should I read it?
Yes, please.
Okay. Sukhaya karmani kroti loko na tai sukham vanyad uparamam va vindeta bhuyas tata eva dukkam yad atra yuktam bhagavan vadin na. Vidura said, O great sage, everyone in this world engages in fruitive activities to attain happiness, but one finds neither satiation nor the mitigation of distress. On the contrary, one is only aggravated by such activities. Please, therefore, give us directions on how one should live for real happiness.
Apt verse. Sukhaya karmani karoti loko. And Panchatattva's remark is there also.
Yes, Panchatattva Prabhu. The human beehive. What must our beehives must look like to the demigods, what to speak of the Supreme Lord?
Hmm.
And Saraswati Maharaj, would you like to comment or ask some?
Yes, I was actually just thinking a few verses back where they talked about how the Lord and his creation, in fact, he did all of this in his sleep. And I was just thinking how merciful Krishna is, because all the atrocities that are committed by conditioned souls, he sort of just passes it all off as done all in his sleep. And for those of us who think we can never get absolution, I mean, just to even think of how Krishna passes all of this off as in a dream, and if and when we ever do become perfect, we also think it was nothing but a dream, because for sure, if we were to remember all those abominable acts and that we have committed in forgetfulness of Krishna, I don't think you'd even be able to ever enjoy anything. Hare Krishna.
Yes, good observations. Thank you.
Okay, I think we can pause here for kirtan. Okay. Prachiparna Madhavi Mashi, would you like to lead kirtan?
Yes, Guruji. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jayādvaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai, thank you.
Jai Om Vishnubad Puramansa Paripajukacharya Stotra Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navdeep Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamana Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you.
His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami Ki Jai.
Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari
Haribol, Haribol, Haribol.
Jai. Thank you.